Mila is the CEO of Word for Word, specializing in communication, business management, and language consulting services. She has been a member of the Zurich Toastmasters Club for 9 years. Mila is the winner of 2024 District 109 International Speech Contest and will compete in this year's World Level International Speech Contest semifinals. Mila lives and works in Switzerland. Mila, stage is yours. Thank you so much for being our keynote speaker tonight. Stage is yours.
Thank you so much. First and foremost, my heart is in Istanbul, in Turkey. I'm a huge fan. So I've been asked to give a brief workshop session on the subject of evaluation, which is hugely relevant. Now, I have my little timer here because I don't want to go over time. I promise you we won't go over 15 minutes. The time starts now. Now, the thing about evaluation is that it is the central element, not just of Toastmasters, but basically of everything we do. Because without feedback, we cannot grow and we cannot improve. Now, for me, there are 3 P's, as in P, letter P, not P, vegetable P, in feedback. There is purpose, there are pitfalls, and there's the process. Now, true to Toastmaster feedback, I'm putting the pitfalls, the negativity in the middle. So I'd like to start by asking any of you off the cuff, what is the purpose of feedback? Any volunteers? Not sure how we can do this, but be flexible. Sercan, what can I ask you?
Yeah, sure. Feedback is the improvement area for myself, and it's like a gift for us that we cannot see. Like behind our back, we cannot see several things. That's why feedback is the best gift for improvement.
Excellent. Gift. Anyone else? Any volunteers?
I think feedback is essential to draw awareness to certain things that the speaker may not be aware of.
So we have awareness, we have a gift. Anyone else?
I think feedback is the way of the growing, because if we don't see ourselves nothing to enhance or improve, there is nothing to reason to work on anything. We need to some reason to think something and being here.
Excellent. I think all 3. Should we leave it at 3 for now? If you want to add later on, perfect. I totally agree with all that. Here comes the but. Before we can get to that growth, awareness, and reason to feel we want to continue, we as evaluators have to make sure that we don't discourage people. Meaning that what we want to do, and I think this is the key overall 3 umbrella overall purposes of feedback, is to make anyone whom we're giving feedback to want to continue speaking. And sometimes if you are a more experienced speaker, or if you've been in the business world, it's quite hard to remove yourself when you're giving feedback. But that's a crucial factor, that when we give feedback, we say the ultimate goal is that we want the person, no matter how they perform, to want to continue speaking. Number 1. We want the person we're giving feedback to, and someone mentioned that, to want to continue to grow. And we want to make sure that that person who receives the feedback believes enough in him or herself to know that they have the skills already. So as you said, feedback, awareness, gift, wanting to continue to grow is all relevant. But before we start going into that realm, I think it's really important for us to stand back and say, hang on a minute. All we want this person to do is to believe in him or herself. So those are the umbrella terms of purpose. And then we get into the nitty-gritty that you've already mentioned. We want to give people feedback that is relevant to them. So if someone is more of a timid person, the last thing we want to do is to say to that person, be loud, be proud. We want to make sure that that person with the outfit that they have wants to continue on their path. Meaning the purpose of our job is to not make the person feel they have to copy, they have to become like someone else, but they can become a better version of themselves. And then once we've got that in our head, we can start deciding, does this person, is that person ready to work on body language? Is that person ready to work on vocal variety? Is that person ready to work on speech structure? There's no point in giving too much feedback if it backfires. So I think that's really important when giving purpose to feedback. Then the pitfalls. I'm going to ask you again. I've revealed some already, but for you, what are the biggest pitfalls do you think in giving feedback?
Mila, what is pitfalls?
Pitfall, traps. Basically that you do something that then backfires. That you as a feedback giver say something or give feedback that discourages the person you're evaluating.
One thing would be using self-esteem. Sorry, can you hear me? Damaging one's self-esteem can be a pitfall, also hurting person's feeling.
Yes, exactly. That sometimes if you know someone well and you're giving feedback, there's the risk of subjectivity. That you may feel, oh, I know this person so well, why don't they do this and this and this? And you might be less sensitive to that threshold of saying, I am still the evaluator. Even if I know that person well, I need to honor the speech and not the person. If you don't know the person who is speaking, it can be even harder because you don't have context. So there, and this will bring, it's already moving into the process area. The best thing you can do to avoid that pitfall is to make sure you know how that speech makes you feel. Now, I'm going to use Sercan's speech as an example. I hope that's okay. Those of you who saw on stage in Istanbul, if I had evaluated Sercan, my feeling would have been, first and foremost, this is the most genuine person I have seen on that stage for a long time. So my feedback would have been guided by that feeling of Sercan is making me feel she's real. Now, if Sercan would have dropped one of the balls whilst she was juggling, which she didn't, based on that sense of, feeling that she's genuine, it wouldn't have mattered. So basically, when you give feedback, try and put yourself into that other person's shoes without becoming that other person. And always remember, the word evaluation comes from value and not judging. That's a really important distinction to make. So you have to sort of step out of your own reality as a speaker to then step in to that person's world. The other pitfall that many of us might fall into is giving too much feedback. So when we give feedback, this is moving into the P, the third P, the process. We're basically looking at 2 steps. So when you're listening to a speech, you're basically preparing yourself to give feedback. And the one thing you must do before you make any conclusions is listen. Listen and feel. How does that person make you feel? And then you can ask yourself, why does that person make me feel that way? Because that can define your feedback. Sercan would have needed to hear from me, first and foremost. I know she's a superb speaker, but I think the feedback that Sercan would have benefited most from me is that genuine storytelling, that being in that mountain. I still remember it in Ishla, I think it was, and the skiing and all of that. It's because Sercan made me want to connect with her. So that's the feedback I can give. There is no point in me saying to Sercan, oh, at minute 4, your body language wasn't quite the way it should be. Because what creates a winning speech, from my own experience, is connecting with that audience. And that is what you need to do when you take notes during your listening of a speech. And this also relates to the business setting. What is the person telling you, and what are you taking away, and why? So it's all through the feelings. That said, I know that we're all different. So one of the hardest things in giving feedback, we're now back to the Toastmaster context, is that we have very little time. I don't know if any of you have ever participated in an evaluation contest. It is mad. You have 5 minutes or whatever to nail it. So you have to decide before you...
Buzu yapmadın mı? Buzu yapıyorduk ya, onu yapmadınız.
Okay. Hello? Are we okay? Okay. You have to decide how your technique will be for note-taking. Now, if you are an emotional person like me, I will draw, if I have a piece of paper like this, I will divide it in 4 squares. And I will write on that paper, heart, head, hand, humor. Heart, head, hand, humor. The 4 H's. In square heart, I will write down, how did that speaker make me feel? Which for me is critical. Head will be the rational takeaways I take away from that speech. What is it that I've taken away from that speech? Hand, vocal variety. How did she move? How did he move? And humor, I think we can all agree that if we can find a universal kind of humor that's not offensive, that is going to be a big asset. Now that works for me, but your 4 squares could also be who, how, what, why. So you could say, who is this speech about? Or who's in this speech that's relevant? What is it about? What do I take away? Keynotes, key notes. How did that person deliver it? Was she energetic, or was he calm? Did he have variety? What, who, how, why, and why? Why is he telling me what he's telling me, or she? That could be another approach. So whatever approach works best for you, adopt it and practice it as much as possible. Because once you get that system in your head, you will save precious time and you can listen better, which is what you have to do in the feedback. Now I have 14 seconds. Okay. The absolute no-go, where a lot of people go wrong, is do not give a summary of the speech. We've heard the speech. Make sure that you listen with that system. If you've got those 4 squares, that you may write down keywords, say, oh, wow, I love that sentence. But don't give us don't spend 3 minutes giving us a summary of what we've just heard. That happens when you don't have a system in place to give feedback. With that, we're out of time. I will shut up. And thank you for your attention. Any questions? We're out of time. But I'm here if you have any questions anyway.
Congratulations, Mila. It was a very helpful session. Do you have any question? We can take 1 or 2 questions if you want to ask. Stage is yours.
Yes, I have a question. And you shared the two matrices for evaluating speech. In Toastmasters, do we have maybe the standard matrix that we can use for this? Maybe besides what, how, why, and who, and also heart, head, hand, and humor. Do we have like systematic templates that we can use?
Absolutely, there are loads and loads of templates out there and evaluation forms, and which are all valid. My but is that you can become overwhelmed with too many templates. And in my experience is simplifying your own thought pattern by saying, what am I trying to do in these few minutes that I have available? I'm talking about a situation where you have very little time to give feedback. I find that 4 areas is enough for me, but with time, you will listen differently. So those templates will automatically flow into your feedback. That's just my experience, but maybe it's my pigeon brain that can't cope with too much. So it's up to you. Ultimately, it's entirely up to you, but finding your way, I think is a very important process. I often see loads of people with masses of pieces of paper. They go on stage and then they might have valid feedback that they can't see because they lose the sight of the wood for the trees. So